Alrighty, what's up, everybody? Welcome to On That Note podcast. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Calvin. Welcome back for the second part of this second episode of this second season.
You did that. That was like a new age riddle. I was like, ooh, where's this door leading to? But yes, y'all. Yes, y'all. Yes, y'all. As Calvin said, this is the second part of episode 2 of our second season of On That Note podcast. And as you know, this season for our noteworthy segments, we are featuring albums released in 1994.
Yeah.
So that means albums that are turning 25 this year, which is like still bananas to think that some of these just like seminal works, particularly within R&B and hip hop, were released 25 years ago. It's also interesting because a number of the artists who did release albums, you know, unfortunately are no longer with us. So it's like making it to the point where people can look back and really regard a body of work as, you know, and being able to like trace it to the contemporary. But it's, you kind of wish that you had those artists here to add that added layer of context. So
So our clue, well, we gave you all a couple clues.
Yeah, we did.
Time.
Yeah, we did.
So our clues were that, you know, it was someone that I said was my favorite boy band, or, you know, one of my favorite boy bands in season 1. And then also, Brandon had said that, you know, we had talked about this theme and talked about the second season, and this was one of the albums that we just had to do.
Absolutely had to.
No choice. So that album is 2 by Boyz II Men. This is going to be a running theme for this episode.
Yes, indeed.
So, yeah, this album by
gosh.
Boyz II Men is, as one would guess, is the second album, or I guess, you know, because they came out with a Christmas album in between.
They did, yeah, Christmas interpretation.
Right. But their second, I guess, non-Christmas studio album.
Yeah.
So, and just all around, just a great body of work, which we're going to get into. But yeah.
So, I mean, you think about, you know, again, the concept of like a sophomore album, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about this before on the show.
There's something about it.
It is, like, and the stakes are high.
Yeah.
The stakes are high. But Boyz II Men with this album is one of a series of strong follow-up albums that were released in 1994. It was like, if you needed to put out your sophomore project and make sure that people knew you were still in it to win it, you need to release that Bad Boy 94.
Right.
Okay? Listen closely. Breadcrumbs. So, but with this album, Boyz II Men pretty much took like their rising celebrity and then just kind of like catapulted into another stratosphere. I think we played this game before, and it's a game I like to play with, like, you know, friends. And it's like they're from here to there game. Like, you know, which projects took a person from here to there. I have a fun fact about that phrase that I'll reveal to y'all one day. But so with this album, you see Boyz II Men, and that's big considering how big or how hard Cooley High Harmony hit.
Right.
Because that won't no sleeper album.
Exactly.
It won't like the first Destiny's Child album.
Yikes.
No shade. You know.
Yeah.
But they ain't really hit, you know what I'm saying, with that one. But like they hit out the gate with Cooley High Harmony. And probably because they had a bit of buzz, I think, that came around at the same time, maybe preceded the album a little bit. And being a part of the Boomerang soundtrack, End of the Road and stuff like that. So, yeah, like you.
And isn't that so crazy that Boomerang is coming out? Like the reboot of Boomerang is coming out this year.
On like the same day, well, the week before this episode is released.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's so crazy.
Craziness. But yeah, so let's get into this album a bit. I'm really excited, one, because, and I like, if y'all were listening back to last episode, I listened back to it like we enjoyed doing it, obviously.
Yes.
But as you can hear, like, there weren't lots of laughs. We were very somber. It was a moment.
It was sobering.
Right, yes. So I'm excited to actually enjoy talking about, like, the music and who's writing it and all this stuff.
Yes.
No you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
No drama.
Age appropriate.
Right, exactly. Everything checks out.
Yes.
But yeah, so
to hop into it, you know, we kind of touched on this a bit, but just thinking about where Boyz II Men, you know, was up until 1994.
Right.
And so you look at, again, we talked about their involvement on the Boomerang, or their inclusion rather, on the Boomerang soundtrack, which sees them, you know, forming some relationships that would come to bear with this project.
Yeah.
And Babyface.
Yes.
You know. And then you think about, you know, even their origins, right? So we could let's pull over to that destination right quick. So, you know, as most of you all know that know Boyz II Men, you know that they rep Philly.
Yeah.
Hard. So they came from Philly, but they got their entry into the industry. You know who was like their manager, who they were like signed to, or how they got in.
Why don't you tell me?
So Boyz II Men came into the game. They're managed. I want to say they were managed by, not signed to, but managed by Michael Bivins.
Oh, okay.
From New Edition.
Yeah. Well, okay. I did know that. I knew that connection, right? So like the because they're heavily influenced by New Edition, like the group they looked up to and all that other stuff. And I knew that Michael Bivins connection. But
and then, you know, their name comes from the New Edition track.
Right, exactly. Boyz II Men. Yeah.
And then
they also have a great acapella track to Can You Stand the Rain?
Off their third album.
Yeah.
Evolution.
Yeah.
Listen, you you know I love me some Boyz II Men.
Right.
So yeah, you know, so they're coming into the game and they have like the right people behind them. Not to mention that they have the talent.
Yes.
You know,
look,
because that's a huge piece. Okay, gimmicks will get you in the door.
Yeah.
But talent will keep you there, allow you to set up a home.
Yeah.
But so all that to say, Boyz II Men comes in and they're Gucci. So Mike Bivins, I'm just guessing this according to according to like their label home and all this stuff. Sure. But you know, New Edition, they worked very closely with, and I want to say Joe Busby was like either the head of the label, or like he just was very pivotal in when they made that shift with the Heartbreak album.
Yeah.
And you know, worked with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, stuff like that. So Boyz II Men ends up at Motown.
Yeah.
Gerald Busby at that time is either president or like he's like leading Motown. And so he's the EP on the album.
Okay.
And so you think about like his track record again, you know, with New Edition and other artists, and you know, like they're primed for success. Yeah. Right. So in thinking about again, like leading up to this album, they have not only big songs, but you know, Grammys, wins and nominations. So they were nominated for Best New Artist, you know, a couple of other like awards and stuff. And then, you know, the pressure is mounting. Yeah. That's what I'm really trying to get at. The pressure is mounting. Okay, y'all hit with this first album, like how you gonna follow up? Yeah. And follow up they did.
They absolutely did. Yeah. So and you've kind of talked about it, but so if we're talking about kind of just like the makeup of the album, just like the skeletons of it, right? So it's like 13 tracks, maybe about an hour long. I want to say like 57 minutes.
Yes.
And you know, executive producer, studio, all that other stuff. They recorded in, like I was looking, and they recorded in like so many different studios. They were in Philly, they were in LA, they were like all over the place recording this album, which is interesting because I think about like, so the first thought that comes to mind is like Love King, that was produced, or that was like the Dreams album.
Mm-hmm.
So like how he went to Hawaii and was just like recording in a studio in Hawaii for that album. I think that location has a lot to do with like it affects the sound, and especially like the sound technicians and everybody in the studio with you that are able to work with you. I think that kind of has an impact on the sound of the album.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, and then beyond that, just like so many different good. I mean, we talked about Babyface, Terry, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis.
Yes, they on there.
Yeah.
You got some like up and coming producers, and Tim and Bob.
Yeah.
Which we wouldn't come to really recognize Tim and Bob as a name until later on. I'll tell you, the first time I heard Tim and Bob's name, like say on the record, was "Slow Down" by Bobby Valentino.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. I thought they were new at that time. But like, damn, like they had been in the game a strong like 15 years. But to your point about like, you know, recording an album in so many places, you know, back then that's when you could get a campaign off of the same album that lasted at least 2 years, right? So if they put out Cooley High Harmony and like, you know, 91, 92 or something like that, then they probably recorded the second album in so many places because they were touring.
Right.
Because they're still new artists. So they're like, you know, traveling and even like we'll get into again some of the tracks in a little bit, but the second track on the album, All Around the World.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's kind of like you hear it, like, sounds like they're like, you know, coming in for a show or something like that. So it's interesting, but how did all of that come together and make this like really beautiful and very cohesive album that has so many different sounds, but it all just blends so beautifully. So with that being said, and we did go over some of like the producers and things like that. I kind of have a few questions I want to ask you right quick.
Sure.
So one, okay, what was the first single released on the album?
First single released. Is it... So I know, and we can do this, I'm sure we're going to do this factoid later, but was it I'll Make Love to You?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
So, fun fact about that is Gerald Busby apparently like pushed them to release that as the first single. They didn't want to.
Oh, wow.
But then it ended up becoming like one of the biggest hits.
Yes,
which
ever.
seems to happen a lot.
Yeah.
You know, in the industry when you hear about like stuff in hindsight. So yeah, I May Love You, and we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, that was the first single. And so with that, I think since we're starting to get into like individual songs, let's like share some of our like highlights. From the
well, I will say if we're gonna do that, so and like you said, I'll Make Love to You blows up, right? And it gets to number 1 on Billboard, and then Boyz II Men, what they're able to do is do something for a single that before them only I think Elvis Presley and the Beatles were able to do, and it was the first time anyone had ever done it in 30 years, which is top yourself on the Billboard Top 100. Exactly. So they come through with On Bended Knee, and they replaced themselves on the Top 100 for number 1. Right. You know? So yeah, I just thought that when I was reading up on the album and listening to it, I just thought that was so interesting because, like, you know, in hindsight, again, like, good in music and good albums when you see it, but then when you see all of the accolades, which we'll get into also, they're just like, yep, they deserve that one, they deserve that one, and they deserve that one, like...
But, you know, I think what I find interesting, too, though, and I definitely chalk this up to the time, because now I think it could be a little bit different. You know, so On Bended Knee wasn't the second single. Yeah. You know what I mean? Even though they replaced themselves at number 1 with that song. Yeah. They had a single in between there, Thank You. That Thank You isn't... Okay, so we'll chat about Thank You for a second. But the interesting thing about that is, you know, nowadays... If you put out like a really bomb first single, but like your second single is kind of weak, then you don't really get the opportunity to like for people to like pay attention again.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's probably because we get a whole album now instead of back then. You know, they put out. Was it? So I'll Make Love to You came out before the album, but it was saying that one of the singles didn't come out till like that next year or something like that. So it was kind of interesting to see how like the timeline of how music would be released back then and how that impacted
people had a lot more patience, I think, with an album than they do now.
Absolutely.
You know, you were willing to sit with an album a little while longer, and then also the market wasn't as saturated, and there weren't like a million albums coming out every week. So
that's very true.
Yeah,
very true.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as we are, you know, again gonna start delving more into the album.
Yeah.
One thing that's important to know about this album in comparison to Cooley High Harmony is that you see a lot more hands-on involvement from the guys.
Yes.
Like they're in one way or another co-writing, co-producing every track on the album, and they EP this album, which is pretty big because, you know, by the time you hit your second album, not everybody gets that.
And especially not 4 guys, you know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
The fact that all of them were able to have their hand in it, which was not the case for New Edition. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We saw that biopic, you know. They ain't have their hands in nothing. But their pockets, which were empty.
Baby, and everybody else had their pockets too. That was the issue. Right. Okay.
But yeah, the fact that the entire group was able to, and I think this is very telling of something that I really loved about Boyz II Men, which was, I remember when we were talking about that, because we've talked about Boyz II Men on the show before.
For sure.
And so I was saying how much I love Wanye's voice and how he's one of my favorite vocalists, and then you were talking about his sons, and I was asking somewhere around that time why he had never gone solo. And I think the answer to that question, in part, is just they worked so well together and they knew that they did, and they didn't want to stop doing that, you know? And I think that there's something to be said for, like, there being less of an ego in a group. That's like, that is honorable, I would say. I mean, even with B, you know what I'm saying? Like, she always knew she like stepping on the scene, she was like, oh, I'm gonna be that girl, you know? And I think that's something to be said for a group that's very much like, we want to be a group and we understand our strength as a group. And that shows like in how tight their harmonies are and like how good they sound together, and how throughout, you know, they're still like judging competitions together and doing. They're gonna be here this year sometime. Yeah. So
I'm excited because when y'all get this episode, I will have just come back. From seeing them. So they're doing a set of shows, like anniversary shows, to commemorate the 2 albums.
Right.
So I'm going to see them in Philly on the 16th.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Hype as fuck.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm jealous. I really
was like,
am.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know, all your people won't rejoice. You know.
No, I'm rejoicing with you, while at the same time wanting, you know what I'm saying? Like,
shit, they be having fun. Shit, we want to have fun.
But no, that's gonna be great, and that's gonna be a great show, I'm sure.
I wish it was all 4 of them, and a part of me is hoping that like Michael, because I thought Michael. This is kind of bringing you contemporary. Don't worry, we're gonna get back to the music. But I kind of thought, you know, when Michael fell off the scene, that like, you know, maybe his physical health has deteriorated. He couldn't like walk and stuff. But then I seen him pop up on Iyanla House of Healing. So I said, well, Michael, if you can do these little challenges and shit, get your ass on stage and do a 4 count.
Yeah, right.
And or you could just get you a stool like Big Jazz from Drew Hill.
Right. Look. But
I can't want it more than that.
Yeah, absolutely right. But yeah, so with the music, okay, so we were gonna talk about some singles now. If not singles, tracks.
Yes, indeed.
Okay,
yes,
so indeed. What's up? What you got?
So I want to know. First, I want you to give us your like favorite of the singles.
Okay.
That were released. And so I'll run through them, just, you know, give you the names. Yeah. And you can tell us, and then you tell us why. Yeah. Okay?
I got you. I'm ready.
Alrighty, so of course, first single was I'll Make Love to You. Yeah. Then we got Thank You, which No and Thank You.
Yeah.
I think that was the song that they really wanted to be their first single.
Right.
Because it showcased their voices in a different way because they were really big fans of the group Take Six.
Yeah. No,
so,
I was, yep. I was gonna, I'm so glad you went there because I was gonna go.
You already know. Papa go give it to you.
And it's so there's just an aside really quickly, in 98 when Prince of Egypt comes out.
Okay.
There is, so they released like 3 different sound, like one, that movie is just iconic and all like animation, the musicality, all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But what they also did was they released like 3 different. So they had a soundtrack.
Right.
They had a country like Prince of Egypt soundtrack, and then they had an inspirational Prince of Egypt soundtrack.
That completely caught me off guard.
Yeah.
A country.
Yeah.
Ooh,
like because it was yes, so that, but then also the impact was so massive, like because the inspirational album was essentially gospel tracks, but they had country gospel tracks because they made such a huge splash in that demographic also. So it was just like,
aren't those called worship songs?
Shut up. But like there's a difference between gospel music and like whatever.
Worship songs.
Anyway. The inspirational soundtrack has people like BB and CeCe and like Kirk Franklin, even Ty Tribbett just starting out. Exactly.
Damn.
And 98 was on this inspirational gospel soundtrack. And so, but both Take 6 and Boyz II Men have songs on there. Take 6 starts out the album with a song called Destiny, and then Boyz II Men has a song called I Will Get There that are both on the album. They're both really, really good. I just had to say that really quickly.
Yes.
They're both great tracks. Talk about While You Were Sleeping, right? Check that out too.
Okay.
But yes, heavily influenced by Take 6, and Thank You definitely showcased their how tight their harmonies were. You know, they have the acapella breakdown and all of the stuff. Like, it's just like, it makes sense why they would want that to be their first single, but like,
it was good as the album opener. I'll say that.
Yes, make it track 1, but maybe not the first single.
No.
Yeah.
Right. And they were also like definitely showing love to the fans.
Right.
So Boyz II Men, always a class act.
Yeah.
Always a class act.
Yeah.
And we'll talk also in this overview or discussion.
Yeah.
We're gonna bring up just like about that class act piece and kind of like what kind of marked Boyz II Men's lane aside from other male groups at the time.
Yeah.
But so that being said,
so I'm doing my favorite single.
Yes, and so the last 2 are just On Bended Knee and Water Runs Dry. So from those 4, and it's hard to believe that album only had 4 singles, but it moved so many copies and had so many like non-official singles, because you know how it'll be played on the radio but not an official single.
Exactly.
So of those,
I'll Make Love to You.
Okay.
Yeah.
I should have known.
No,
tell us why.
Yeah, so why I just so this is true of, and yours isn't On Bended Knee, right?
It isn't.
Okay, so I can talk about this. So like what I love about Boyz II Men and just like music at this time was, in my mind, just the structure of it, just the bones of it is just like archetypical R&B track, and each piece has what it needs to make the song as a whole what it is. Now I'm going to break that down because that was kind of a lot of words. So in my mind, especially for like 90s R&B, it's like what you have, and this is true of really all songs if you pay attention to music, like you have verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus, bridge, then chorus to get you through the rest of the song. And sometimes, you know, which is true for these 2 tracks, you have a vamp too. So like basically the vamp being a part where there's essentially just like music playing over and over, and either you're talking over it or you're doing like your little ad-libs over it or whatever. But it's just like each part of I'll Make Love to You has such a well-written, like, so the first verse, you know, close your eyes, make a wish, blow out the candlelight. Like, I'm here in this moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, the first verse sets it up. Like, I know where I am right now,
okay.
You know?
No doubt about it.
And then the chorus is great, and it's, like, catchy without being too repetitive, right. Which is annoying to me because I think a lot of, like, people look for a catchy chorus, but it just means the same thing over and over again, which I don't super love.
I know, yeah. We gonna have music. Used to be
exactly, and write. Like, there's some, like, write a song. If you're gonna, like, and these are just so well written, because, like, second verse is, like, reminiscent of the first, but different, which is like what a second verse should be. You know what I'm saying? Just like it explains more, it sets up the story and all this other stuff. And then one of my favorite parts of a song is a bridge. I can like, there is nothing that I love more in a really good song, especially a good R&B track, than like a bridge, because it really does. They call it a bridge for a reason. It takes you from one part of the song to the other, and most times it's like you're going up a little bit higher, you know, you might have a modulation, or, you know, like, we're getting a little bit more intense and we're singing a little bit more strongly. So it's just like, so that, and it sounds, another good component of a bridge is it sounds different from the rest of the song, you know? So it's Absolutely. Just like the bridge, it might be in the same key, and, you know, it might have some of the same chords, but it's just like, it's different, you know? The bridge sounds different than the rest of the entire song. Yeah. And it project, so like this one, you know, the way that it ends, you know, is like, so you know, I'm not gonna sing the whole bridge, but it's just like
give us a snippet.
But it's just like, so when he, you know, it just goes right into the end chorus, and like the vamp of the song, where it's like at the end where he's singing, he's like, I'll make love hold you tight, you know. So it's just like, and that's over the chorus, and it's just like he's like, you just feel like you feel it, you just feel the song. I might be feeling a little bit of a way right now, but it's just like, that's what good music does, and it's just like, just it feels so good to be in a song and just sit in a song and listen to a song and just have it take you to all these different places. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna have to be I'll Make Love to You, if for no other reason than the way I just reacted when I was describing the song. So, but On Bended Knee is the same way too, kind of like great structure, and then that song adds like a vamp, right? So like when they do the music and they're just talking on it. He's like, oh, baby, please forgive me. You know, all that stuff. So, just like that, I don't know. That to me makes for like a perfect archetypical like R&B track.
Okay.
So
I rock with
that's my why.
Well, so thank you.
Yeah.
And so for me, my absolute favorite Boyz II Men single from that album is Water Runs Dry.
Yeah.
When I tell you I love that song, I just...
And to be fair, like, I think we both love them all. So this is just a love letter to this album. You know, this is not like, not necessarily selection of one over the other.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? No,
it's just,
right.
We needed to find a way to talk about it, so you pick one.
All the tracks, right, exactly. But yes, continue,
but
please.
But similarly, the way that you, like, light up about I Make Love to You, I feel about Water Runs Dry.
Yeah.
And I think just because, I mean, clearly... at the ripe age of 7, in 94. And that is not an invitation for any of you to write in and say, oh, we didn't know you were that old. But at any rate, you know, of course I couldn't really deal with the theme of like love and lost and love.
But I mean, in some ways, I think...
Yeah, true. Like, so music just lands with you because it lands with you, right?
I think maybe when you're that young, you don't have the language for it, but I think you can, especially for someone like you and myself who are like empathetic and just like emotionally intelligent people, I think you could understand what was happening, even if you couldn't identify with it yourself. Like, I know what this song is about, you know?
Right.
It maybe just like at 7, I haven't experienced this yet.
Hopefully. Very true. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so But I mean, just even from the opening, and of course, as I've gotten older, my love for this song just grows and grows.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, we don't even talk anymore.
Yeah.
You thought I was about to try to sing.
you thought you was about to.
I was such a. You don't even know what we are about.
Yeah.
Like I love the way that the song comes in, because I want to say that's Sean, right?
I think so.
That starts off. And I think Nathan does the like, why do we hurt each other? I mean, their voices just sound so amazing on that song.
Yeah.
Like I remember the video, they were in the like desert with the white sand.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like Boyz II Men is giving us something. Yeah. And so.
And like talk about it, because like Water Runs Dry, we're in a desert. Like think about it. Just think about it.
And it didn't feel
What's
like...
not clicking? What's not clicking?
But it didn't feel so like cliche or literal.
Right,
That's
exactly.
like, it felt like...
But it's right,
Yes, because you know what I mean? There's nobody else out there, so like, yes, they're boo-boos that left them. Like, but then of course, you gotta like, go back and realize who's behind the track.
Right.
The one and only Kenny Babyface Edmonds.
Yeah.
And I mean, just a writer.
A
writer's writer. Like, as a writer, there are certain people that I always look to.
Yeah.
And, like, Babyface, Stevie Wonder, you know what I'm saying? If we go more contemporary, Missy Elliott.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there are certain people that just, like, can write the hell out of a song.
I just love quality. And, like, that might be a simple, like, phrase or, like, thing to say, but, like, when something is just so well done, there is nothing like that in the world. Like,
it's really not.
My God.
It's really not.
Yeah.
And I think, kind of to your point that you were making about bridges and like song structure, you know, in this song, you don't get like an official bridge. No. They just, you know what I'm saying, take a piece of the chorus and just kind of like have a moment with it. So I guess it would be kind of akin to a vamp, if you will. Yeah. But I mean, just a really impactful song, and
they sound great. That's the other thing. It's just like it's written well and it's performed well, and like the visuals are nice, and like they're not like, and like they're not on some fuck shit. You know what I'm saying? Like they weren't like terrible people. No. You know, like
and I think for a lot of their songs we got used to the Wanye, like, I'ma just go all the way with it. Right. But this song is a very, like, kind of stripped down, toned down.
You're right.
Like,
you're right.
Just
it's kind of counter to an I'll Make Love to You, where Wanye really, like, is going in and really and you know.
This is a more contemplative song.
Yeah, right. So exactly. But in those moments, you know, those might be the things that you might feel a little more, you know, virile in that moment than you would if you're going through something like that.
So so that's my pick of the singles.
Okay.
But of course, like any good album discussion, we know that it's about more than just the popular songs, the singles, right? We gotta get into the album cuts, deep cuts. And what I will say for this album is that there were like, you know, like we were saying a little bit ago, there were those songs that got played and that were like maybe like a kind of like second tier single or something, didn't get the push, that definitely didn't get videos, stuff like that. So some of those may be included in, you know, something that we say. But what are your favorite album cuts?
How many do I get?
I'll give you 3.
Okay. So what I'll say about one, so there is, I guess I'll do, because it's number 2 on there, All Around the World first. Okay. And you were talking about it earlier. I like that song a lot. So it's like, it was kind of like this thing to do where these artists who maybe weren't people who had lived very like extravagant lives, because like Janet has a song similar, like, you know the song Runaway by Janet. I love that song and I love that video. I know you know it, but it's just like I used to sit there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, so
jumping around the living room.
So it's just like, I like the idea of like these people, mostly black artists, that were talking about like gaining this like worldly experience and like coming back in the studio and talking about it.
Yeah.
Like look at where we've been, y'all. You know, like we've been to Tokyo and we've been to, you know, like all over the place. We've been to LA, we've been to Paris, like, you know, like that's essentially what the sentiment is. Just like Boyz II Men all around the world, like, and produced by Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Of course. But yeah, I love that song for that reason. The next song that I have is Vibin'. So what I wanted to point out about that is it's interesting because, you know, we were talking about Aaliyah and we're talking about this one. I'm sure it's gonna be this way throughout the better part of the albums that we discuss, because I think that like this like new jack sound that was in Vibin' was like the trap of 94. You know what I'm saying? It was like, if you have an album, you're gonna have to do at least one song that sounds like this, you know?
Yes.
And so it's just and so like that's a lot of what Vibin' is. Like, it's like this new jack kind of thing, and what they're able to do, and they kind of do this with the next song that I'm going to talk about too, because they also, like, they're so musically inclined, and like I love that one of their heavy influences is like jazz, right? Because you get like swing is a jazz trope, like it's a component of jazz music. So it's just like with new jack swing, if you're gonna do it and have artists that actually know what jazz is, like, they're gonna bring it, and that's what they did, and with Vibin' or whatever. But what was your thought?
So my thought was like, it's interesting because, you know, in '94, because at this point we've had about 4 or 5 years of this new jack swing sound, and so, you know, because of like the cycles and things like that with kind of like subgenres, they don't tend to last for the long term. So I think that I would argue that this is one of the last like major albums that really is incorporating that new jazz swing sound before it becomes dated.
Yes.
And I think that the ways in which they incorporated new jazz swing, it also sounded very hip hop. So I think that that's what helped bridge and make their sound still like feel really fresh.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it was kind of like, we're doing something that's like hot now, but we're also kind of like setting up what the next like 10 years is gonna look like in terms of music, because, you know, that and continuing that R&B like flirtation with hip hop. So
love it. And you get that. That was a great setup, because my next song is Jezebel on the album.
Ooh.
Yeah, I love that song. So it starts out like they have this little like interlude or whatever, like they get in the subway or whatever, I don't know, they see a girl, I don't know, and then they start singing. But like, so this one is heavily influenced by jazz also, because they're like scatting on it and like doing all this stuff that's very much jazz influence. It has that swing tinge to it also, but like there's a breakdown where they're singing, so like of course the harmonies are tight, of course it sounds beautiful, but they're almost like rapping in harmony, like they start talking, but they're like they're still singing, and it's like 4-part harmony. And I'm like, who is doing this? You know, who is like
nobody.
Who is right? And it just sounds so yeah. It's just very well done. Again, quality. Like, it's just very well done. 100%. It's a very good track. And who the characters? I'm not.
So Troy Taylor.
Yeah.
You know who that is, right?
You can tell.
So Troy Taylor, I mean, like, has been in the game clearly for a minute.
Yeah.
You know, did a lot. Now wait a minute. I wonder if it's the same. I think it's the same Troy Taylor, who kind of took Trey Songz's career and like pretty much took him from here to there.
Right.
Because I don't know if they were working together since Trey Songz came out, but I know definitely around that Ready era, like, he was a huge influence and kind of getting his sound together.
You should call him again.
Ooh, Reed.
Yeah, but Jezebel's my last one, so you can go ahead and give yours.
Alright, so in terms of my favorite album cuts, and it's like difficult because I really love this album. I'm gonna kind of pick up where you left off in terms of like that New Jack swing kind of sound. So the first album cut I want to say is You Know. And I liked that song because, again, you have these very, very strong ballads on this album that could almost overpower the rest of the material, except the rest of the material is
first.
Freaking strong.
I
mean, you know, it's strong.
Yeah.
But then, wait, you were saying first?
I'm sorry, but my thought when you were talking was, another good thing that they do, which I think is intentional, is like, they back end all of the like really, really strong ballads. So it's like you have to get through all of this other stuff before you get to that I'll Make Love to You on Bended Knee, Water Runs Dry.
For sure.
So it kind of makes you. I think that was intentional. I think that they knew that those songs were just gonna like smack, and so like they were like, we're gonna give, because if those were the first 4 tracks, knowing me honestly, like if I heard anything that was like if I heard that New Jack stuff, I would have been like, oh, what's like give me back to the ballads, you know, which isn't deserving because they're all great songs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I do think to that end, I think that I always extol the virtues of proper sequencing.
Right.
And the sequencing on this album is impeccable. It's one of the things that really make it super strong.
Yeah.
Because it's telling a story.
Yes.
And you don't, you know what I mean? It's telling it's a whole narrative. So I really like that song again because just, sonically it's good. And this is also the first time in the track listing on the album where you get to a Tim and Bob production, who we brought up a little bit ago. So Tim and Bob were asked by the group to produce the album. But Gerald Busby was like, okay, these are like some up and coming folk, like, you know what I'm saying? They're not on yet, and this is y'all second album. I'm not fucking with you. So that's when he brought in Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, Babyface, your known hit makers. You know, Dallas Austin, who at this point has really made a splash on himself. Which Dallas Austin in '94.
Right. Interesting.
Breadcrumbs. So yeah, I really like this. Really like this particular track. And I think it really kind of. It showed like some versatility too. I think in the type of beats that they could like really be on and like own. So my next song kind of slows it down a bit. So I'm gonna jump to the end of the album almost. And there's a track called 50 Candles. And I will never forget. I first learned about this song. At this point, it's not first learned about it, but really paid attention to it about like 8-9 years ago when I was in grad school, and we were putting together like a Valentine's Day playlist, like a group of us, right? My coworkers, and one of them was like, put 50 Candles by Boyz II Men on there. I was like, 50 Candles?
Right.
Like, first, because the type of playlist we were making, I was like, I don't think Boyz II Men.
Right.
I put in a song, I said,
no,
I said, now, wait a minute.
And I was wondering why it wasn't a single, but it's probably because it's a little more than what the listeners were used to.
Yeah, it was Salacious by Boyz II Men.
Right. So I think this is a good time to bring this on in. So we were talking about this. So like Boyz II Men, there was this kind of like instant juxtaposition between Boyz II Men and another male R&B group during this time, and that group was Jodeci.
Yes.
And so if Jodeci was like the kind of bad boy, whatever, like hats backward, black leather type group, Boyz II Men was very much the button down, schoolboy, like reserved. You know what I'm saying? Like, for lack of better, like. And I said this earlier, and if you're all right with it, I'm gonna say it on the show.
Go for it.
So essentially, with like if you were listening to Jodeci, just stay with me. Just stay with me. It's okay. It's all right. We're ready.
Yes.
If you were listening to Jodeci, you were fucking. If you were listening to Boyz II Men, you were making love. More often than not.
Period.
Except for 50 Candles, maybe. But it was like
50 Candles was when you was entertaining your suitor who was a gentleman or a lady out in the streets,
exactly.
but a freaking shit. Okay.
But it's so funny because even the way that they talk about like
So
I know you got the lyrics.
You know I got them.
There's so
go ahead.
I was laughing about this earlier because it's just like the way, and again, it's the like funny side of like this very well written song. Right. It's written well, but like, so they say, just let our bodies and the candles in the room burn with a feverish passion uncontained. You know?
But you know what? It's a really, what I enjoy about this song yes, I think it's funny that like we're given just all this poetry. Yeah. Because definitely by this time we done got Fiend and all sorts of shit from like Jodeci and people like that. So it's interesting that you have this like, I'm gonna like make love to you again, but I'm just gonna do it so delicately and just. But it's really vivid also too, right? So
it's poetic. It's taste, but like it's what honestly people nowadays could take a couple notes from. You know, like young Christopher.
I wouldn't be mad. Subtlety.
If you could, subtlety is a great word. If you could like say what you need to say in a way that is creative and not like. Not getting right to the point, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm a
fuck you back.
Yeah, exactly. And like EYPFTB, you know what I'm saying? Like EYT.
Okay.
FTB.
EYTFTB. Is that you said?
I'm an EYTFTB. You'll get it later. So Boyz II Men was not doing that, and this is very much 50 Candles is very much like poetic, but also very very sexual and very much like I'm gonna give it to you.
Absolutely. And again, a Tim and Bob production. So what I think I'm also realizing is that I just really have an affinity for Tim and Bob's work with Boyz II Men.
Yeah.
So 50 Candles. I mean, just beautiful. And I think though too, the ace in Boyz II Men's whole is that everybody in the group can sing.
Right.
Everybody in the group can sing.
Yeah.
And even though Michael is like not your like soloist, they use Mike very very well, especially on like the sensual kind of songs, because he has that amazing like, would that be like a baritone? Bass, yeah. Like he has that amazing voice, and so he can pull them little talk blues off really well, and he has one in that song. So that made me think about that. So so second song, 50 Candles.
Right.
And then I kind of had that build up. See, this is crazy, cause another. So all of the songs I picked from my deep cuts were Tim and Bob. Great. Which means that Boyz II Men knew what they were doing. Yeah. It's something to be said about artistic vision and knowing like who's gonna pull the best out of you, even if it's like somebody that's not that known yet. So I say all that to say, my last pick for an album cut is Trying Times, which let me just give y'all the chorus.
Yeah.
In my trying times, trying to get the best of me, I'm still finding time to show I care. With my crying eyes, I see contentment because of you.
Yeah.
Like, I really love this song. Like, it's just, it's really beautiful. It's really, again, very understated. Just, like, but the words
There's
are so...
something very, very powerful about a man who does not have to show bravado in order to get his point across, whether it's love, whether it's sex, whether it's anything. Like, there's some, it's like, BDE.
Right.
I think that's what that is.
It is, and it's just it's something that's extra attractive about that because it's a security.
Yeah, right.
It, right. Like in that song, they're like pretty much just expressing to their significant other, like, I am because we are, you know, or because I have you here. You know what I mean? Like it's very like, it's a love song in one of the best ways. It's like, you know, no matter what else is happening, even when times get rough, I know that I can pull through it. I can pull through it because I have you. Right.
And even so, you said security. There's like, it's even more powerful that like, it is security in the face of vulnerability.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Like, there aren't many people on the planet that are able to pull that off. No. You know?
Not even.
And so, I just think it's very powerful to see that written in it, because you also don't see that very much in music, you know?
No. And especially thinking about, you know, where R&B was at the time for male groups. You're coming off the era of the like balladeer and, you know, terms of like 80s where you had a lot of like the guys in suits and stuff like that, and you're entering into this like next phase of male groups. And you have like this really strong example from Jodeci, and even like by this time you got at H-Town on the scene and stuff like that. So that's like one kind of like really popular school of thought. But then again, in juxtaposition, you have Boyz II Men that's not like trying to be those groups, but standing firmly in kind of who they are. I guess I would argue their personal and artistic identity, because I think that there has to be integration of the two for it to really work well. But you see that, and you just see that it doesn't sound corny. It doesn't sound dumb. It sounds like sensual, attractive, just like awesome. And I mean, the music again is just amazing. And so about this song in particular, this is a favorite song of mine to play for people, because again, when you have a blockbuster album like this, some people, especially if you're younger, you may not ever have listened to this whole album. Right. So you know the I'll Make Love to You, the On Bended Knees, the Water Runs Dry. But then I was playing this song for some friends a couple of months ago. And my friend Gabby was like, and I like actually typed this down because I wanted to remember her quote. Right. But she was like, there are album cuts from the 90s that nobody ever played at the time that sound even better today. Right. Oh, 100%. You know what I'm saying? And 100%. It's just like, because you listen to you could put this song on right now, and it could be a song that's like out. And it's going to like kill like half of the stuff that's like being played under the banner of R&B. So,
that good shit gonna last forever.
Listen.
All that other shit.
Okay.
One day gonna next.
Okay. Let that be that on that. So I think that's that wraps up both of our picks for like, you know, deep cuts.
Okay. I have a couple just like trivia things, I guess, about some other tracks.
Let's do it.
Because there are only like maybe two or three that like we didn't end up talking about. Right. But like, so for Khalil, the interlude, something very interesting about that. So that was written about someone that had been working. He was like a road manager.
Yeah, he was that road manager.
Who had gotten shot while they were on the road. But that interlude,
he got shot. It was a very like, I thought he got like killed at like an actual like kind of like a big event.
Yeah, I think they were in Chicago or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, they were on tour with was it BBD? So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
But yeah, so that interlude is featured on Scorpion, which is a very recent album. You know, like Drake's most recent album. On the very last song, where what is it, March 24 or whatever the name of the track is, or
March 14.
March 14, yeah, it was something like that. But like that interlude is sampled, or I guess featured, and then the other fact. Well, do you have the?
I think so. Yes. Okay. So, they were touring with Hammer and Jodeci.
Hammer like MC Hammer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, this was 92. So, Hammer was like in his prime.
So he wasn't MC Hammer yet.
No, he was MC Hammer.
Right.
But the girls call him Hammer. For sure.
I thought you were
always
saying
feel
something
like
else. No. I see what you're saying. Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, so that is an interesting piece. And then their very last track, Yesterday, is a cover of a Beatles song, which is interesting because they end up, beating their record with this album that features this cover. That. Yeah.
I'm glad you said that because, so I think that's something, if you want to be recognized as one of the greats,
yeah,
you have to step into the arena with the greats.
Oh, yeah.
So the way that usually shows up, particularly for musicians and artists, is I need to, body one of your tracks. Yeah. Or I need to body you on a track. Mm-hmm. Since this is R&B, it's usually the former and not the latter. So I think that it's very telling that that they come in with this song as an album closer. It's our second album. We done took more of the reins on our career. Mm-hmm. This is it's like a from Boyz II Men moment. You know what I mean? It's just like how New Edition ended Heartbreak with Boyz II Men, to let the people know we're transitioning past where you've known us to be. We're hitting the stratosphere now. And then after that, you see all the different indie outfits that have their own levels of success. So I think that, you how you open an album and how you close an album are super important.
Exactly. And the thing about this is they do it so well. And so it's like an acapella track, and Boyz II Men was doing acapella when no one was really doing that, and it wasn't cool. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have a Pitch Perfect and that whole thing going on. But that's how they knew to body, because they did the same thing with Can You Stop the Rain with New Edition. Or Can You Stand the Rain? I'm sorry. I'm thinking about Peebo. So they do it again, and so I think they know their lane, and so it's okay, if we're gonna body this track, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it our way, and we're gonna do it in a way that sounds like us.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love it. So we were kind of doing some kind of trivia stuff.
Yeah.
So, in terms of we've been talking a lot about the Grammys and so the contextualized Grammys, and we talked about Grammys a little bit with Boyz II Men.
And by this point, y'all will have seen the Grammys, and it will be fresh on your mind. Yes. So
connections.
Right.
I know we were talking a bit about some of the kind of I don't know if it's necessarily history, but they definitely had some unique kind of feats.
Yeah.
In terms of this album. Mm-hmm. And so you were telling me before the show that 2 was actually the inaugural Grammy winning Best R&B album.
Yes. Yeah. So what that means is there was no Best R&B album category before. I guess that would have been 95, I guess. And so they create the category in 95, and 2 wins it for the first time. So they're the first people, the first group, the first artist to ever win Best R&B album, which is crazy to think about.
Right. Right. So I'm wondering, because I'm trying to remember what they were naming it under, because
I have no idea. Unless it was soul or
maybe, because I know whatever they had the banner as, Aretha Franklin won the first one.
Yeah.
For I Never Loved a Man, I think. But something to look into.
Because now they have Best Contemporary R&B, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And so it's just they even with that they switched it. Yeah. So it's interesting, but I thought that was really cool. Because this album, I don't know, it just. You listen to it and you think that it deserves so much, and you realize that it has a lot of accolades, because they won a good amount of Grammys for also in addition to that, right?
Yeah, so well they also so I have to remember too, and we were kind of talking about this a bit, but back then the field of music was just so vast, and you had so many like amazing projects that for an artist to win 2 Grammys in a night is actually just as or more impressive than an artist walking away with 5 now, right?
Yeah.
Because again, 95 Grammys, you're not just looking at 2, you got, you know, Crazy Sexy Cool, you got like AJ Number. You got all these albums out, not to mention a lot of, and I'm purposely not saying a lot of albums. I ain't trying to
We're
get
not
out
there
of
yet.
but you know, you have just a lot of projects that came out that year, so but
sure.
they were nominated for Record of the Year for I'll Make Love to You. They didn't win that, which is interesting. But they did win Best R&B Performance by a Duo or Group for that very same song.
Wow. Okay.
So I don't know if like maybe they weren't nominated for anything else beyond that. But also to remember some of their other singles were released in 95, so they probably wouldn't have been
up for
to the 96, which we can talk about that at a little bit later. But I think that, you know, now's a good time to kind of like talk about, you know, so where did they go from here?
Yeah.
You know, where did Boyz II Men kind of like go next?
Yeah.
And I was reading like an interview that they did with Billboard back in 2014, so around the 20th anniversary of the album, and they were saying that like honestly that time period was such a blur because they were touring nonstop. They were all over. You know, at this point you got 2 smash albums.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And this album in particular went on to, even though it was released in August of 94, it was the 3rd best-selling album of 1995.
Wow.
12 million at least units sold. You know, strong debut week of 350,000 copies sold. And this is back then when you had to buy music.
Go to a store and buy it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like moving numbers like that back then, it's just, whoa. Yeah. So, you know, after this, you see their star continue to rise, and they end up going on to be on one of the biggest songs of 1995, if not the biggest song. You know what I'm talking about, right? I like doing this. I'll give you one guess.
The biggest song of 95, was it on? Wait, no.
Don't second guess it.
No, I know that's not it.
Okay.
Was it on Evolution?
No. So this was not a solo feat.
Oh, okay.
Think.
But it's not from. Is it from Christmas Interpretation?
So here's your second clue.
Yeah.
It's not on one of their albums.
Yo. What? Oh, you talking about?
That's hold another point.
The song with Mariah, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
One Sweet
and
Day.
It's called One Sweet Day.
Sorry, I should have just waited a little bit and let you get it all.
It's good.
But I was so glad that you finally had got it.
Me too. I
didn't want to keep you
Thank you so much.
dark no more.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so they end up, you know, being in high demand for collaboration. So they're on One Sweet Day, which I want to say still may hold the record for longest run at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100.
Fun fact, while I'm thinking about it, something that you told me. So when they were nominated for Best New Artist, you told me that they lost to Mariah Carey.
Yes, they did.
And I think there's something to be said for like being collaborative, a time
For
when you're being
sure.
collaborative, when you like would lose out a big award like that to somebody and then come back 2 or 3 years later and come out with a smash hit with that. Like if you're smart, you know, like you bring your stars together, you know, so that they can align and make something great,
magical,
you know?
Right. But you also have to have both parties who are secure in their own artistry. You know what I mean? Only a giant can stand amongst other giants.
Wow.
But, you know, so to that point, and, you know, that was, shoot, and to think that was a smash song when, you know, Mariah, that was just a win-win. Because there is no one else who can rightfully proclaim the title of Queen of the 90s.
Okay, yeah.
Besides Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
And so you think, like, Once We Date wasn't the first single, like, from the Fantasy album. It was Fantasy. Well, Daydream.
Right.
The Daydream is the album. Fantasy was the first single. And that was such a smash, both iterations of it, with and without Old Dirty Bastard. And then you follow up with this, like, you know, ballad, like, Mariah, Boyz II Men.
Yeah.
And baby, the video won't none but them in the studio, and it still just gave us everything we needed. But I think that's on 16 weeks. And
and it's and it's just such an impactful song, right? Because of what they're talking about, something that everyone can identify with, which is loss. And so it's just so very interesting. It's kind of like, it's the reason why See You Again by that dude in Wiz Khalifa was hot for so long. That song wasn't that good. Like, let's call a spade a spade. Like,
you're right.
The reason why
it to be quite
but the reason why it was so impactful was, one, because of the loss of Paul Walker. And just like, everyone experiences loss, everyone knows what that feels like, and so it's very easy to identify with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they
so they were not only on that, but then 95 also saw them team up with LL Cool J for his song Hey Lover.
Right, yeah.
Which was, I do believe that was the first single from the Mr. Smith album, which, baby, that is an album too. But, you know, sampling the great Michael Jackson on that song. But then you also, I want to say 95 is also when they did the song as a part of the Black Man United chorus from, I think that was from Jason's lyric.
Yeah.
You will know. So, you know, that was, they're still in the midst of their, like, smash album, like, continue to blow up. And they're, like, you know, getting on these other projects, and you really are seeing Boyz II Men not only be seen as a force in and of themselves, but a force that could aid and abet other established artists. It's like they're like that hot new
that
thing,
hot ticket, the thing to the people to work with.
Exactly. And I think it's beautiful whenever artists experience that at the same time that they're taking on even more artistic control of their career. I mean, it's the same thing that you saw with, you know, to harken back to somebody we talked about previously on the first part of this particular episode, Stevie Wonder. You know, Stevie Wonder had made a name for himself and everything, but by the time you get to the early 70s, when he takes his by the reins, you know, he just catapults, and that's just, now it's like, whoa, like Stevie's most loved stuff, most prolific stuff is when he turned it around. So same with Boyz II Men now. You know what I mean? Some of their most loved stuff is like this album, and, you know, moving forward and stuff too. So it's a beautiful thing. So
it just makes me very, like, proud to see people who are just very good at what they do that thing very well.
Absolutely.
You know?
I agree.
There's just nothing like that.
It really isn't. And I think also too, if we're talking about like how they were able to like set things up for people that came behind them, two songs that they recorded for this album actually ended up being used for 112's debut album.
Oh yeah.
So I think it was two of their Tim and Bob productions. And so to think about how, this album was released in 94. 112's debut album may come out in 96.
Yeah.
So that is also an indicator of just like y'all were making music that wasn't just for the here and now.
Exactly.
And to see how that was able to help launch the careers of like, the people that are contemporaries but coming behind them too. So
yeah.
So yes,
shout out to them.
I know, right? Boyz II Men. I'm trying to think. Do you have any lasting thoughts about this project? Anything you didn't get to say already that you want to say?
Well, just kind of the from here to there, not necessarily about the project, but we were talking about Juan Moore, like his sons, Wanye's sons, and if he's working with them in the way that they were worked with. Like that would be something that I'm very, very excited to see. Because it's been a while since we've had like a good boy group.
That's very true.
And then just like quality music, like if we could get a reemergence of just like well-written songs and like fantastic production and just artists who really, really want to be in their artistry. Because I think that, the people that I think of as like kings and queens of their industry are like a Kendrick and a Beyonce, but neither of them are an R&B artist. Unfortunately, it's like Beyonce's pop and Kendrick is hip hop. So like to have just an R&B just like giant would be great.
So do you think in terms of, I have some thoughts, but I kind of want to ask you this question.
Yeah.
Do you think that someone like her could be seen as like doing that now?
Maybe.
Like in terms of, like on the R&B front, like she's still really early on in her career, but when is she? I would say that she's an R&B purist.
Yeah, I would
as
too.
An artist.
Yeah. Yeah. So her and my boy. I would say maybe those two.
Okay.
I'm hopeful for. Yeah. And maybe we just need to see more. But no one, like, honestly, none of the music that I hear right now, like, moves me in the way that even now, listening to this, I feel, like, moved. You know?
You know what? Yeah. Because it's, like, even songs that I really, really like don't always arouse an emotion within me.
What I think the last time I felt that way about R&B was maybe like Freudian by Daniel Caesar, but like
and that's I still have not listened through.
Wow, that's unfortunate.
A lot of people said it to me and I just was like, oh.
But even that isn't like pure R&B. It's very acoustic. It's very like there's something different. Yeah, which is nice. But to get like R&B, just like pure R&B, and just like done in a really real way, I'm hopeful, and I think that it's coming either from her, or from Tone, or from Wamo, or somebody. I think that eventually this bubble is gonna burst, and people are gonna get tired of like just what is happening right now, and there's gonna be a push for more quality.
Yeah, because I do think about people like Ro James, who has like I think been brought up like briefly on the show before. Yeah. But like I think that he has the chops and he does R&B music and does it really, really, really well. I just think that it's gonna the linchpin is gonna be that nexus of doing the music really, really well and it being really, really, really commercially successful. Because that's what you had here. Yeah.
Do you feel like the industry is failing R&B right now?
Oh, absolutely has.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely it is, and it has been because of how the industry has like disregarded R&B as being like a primary genre of music. It's become so diluted and so intermingled with everything else that it was like R&B is the musical metaphor for what happened when school integration happened.
I would argue
because you started. Let me explain it. Because you started seeing the devaluation of black spaces and black institutions. Sure. Because you had access to all of different things that you're being told are more legitimate, more credible, better resource. And so they aren't spending money to promote R&B artists, R&B acts. They aren't, valuing as much as, at one point when R&B, when you had whole labels dedicated. LaFace won't really doing much beside R&B, and then like toward the end they started getting some hip hop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a really good point. I was thinking that would be more so for hip hop, but I think what I'm thinking hip hop is doing right now is just it's everybody's. Hip hop is just the slut of the industry. It's like everybody can get a piece, you know, like everybody. And I mean, in a different way, and we've said this differently, but like hip hop is the rock and roll of right now.
Well, it is.
You know,
it's the most
like
purchased genre.
It's the most purchased. It's what everybody wants to listen to. It's what everybody wants to buy into. But that is a really good. And I'm thinking of like on the collegiate level when you say that.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay,
because I think maybe hip hop is like the primary, like everybody's just in the same place and we have to reconcile with like how everybody's gonna be here. But that like picking and choosing of like where we're gonna put our resources and like what is gonna be named like the good R&B of right now is more a collegiate experience, I think, of like choosing whether to go to an HBCU or going to a PWI and just like that choice. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
wow.
I mean, again, yeah, we'll just have to stay tuned.
We will.
So one of the last things I did want to say about this album is just, and this has been something that we've, stated in terms of like launching careers. I need to look and see where Tim and Bob like went after this project because I'd be very curious to like maybe who did their work here give them access to.
Yeah.
But a gem that you got to read the liner notes to figure out has something to do with this album is Tony Rich, which Tony Rich, I guess for most people is a one-hit wonder. With the should I even ask or should I just tell you? Okay, I'll just tell
talk.
You. So Tony Rich is a singer-songwriter, and he had this outfit called the Tony Rich Project.
Yeah.
I mean, he came out with his best known song, Grammy-winning song hit "Nobody Knows." Nobody knows it but me. Okay, never mind. We'll play it for you after. But so Tony Rich wrote the song "I Sit Away."
Okay.
And I sit away. And he co-produced it with L.A. Reid, but just like thinking about somebody like him who still probably had another like year or two before they like really popped, but how did maybe getting included or getting a placement on this project really kind of set them up for success? So, kudos again to Boyz II Men for just raising their profile, bringing us a strong sophomore project and really knocking it out the park, and not only launching them and individual members, because I even thought about like how Wanye collaborated with Brandy on the Broken Hearted remix. So, it just launched them. It gave them different placement within the industry, different status. So, one of my favorite R&B albums, period.
For sure. Yeah.
Too. So, hope that y'all enjoyed that discussion of two. We definitely talked about it at length. So, in saying that, we're gonna just jump right into our Run That Back for this week.
Yeah. Let's do that. So, are we doing, because by the time this comes out, so, this will be post Valentine's Day weekend. And,
your cuffing Olympics will be over.
Exactly. You will either be where you need to be, or where you need to be, just not with someone.
No Donnell Jones.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do for this particular Run That Back is like songs essentially that you might listen to if your weekend did not go either as planned or how you would expect for it to go, or hope for it to go. Mm-hmm. So mine is the Kehlani song "Nights Like This" featuring Ty Dolla $ign. So I like that. It's like a pretty new song, I would say. It's like post baby, right?
Actually, I don't think she had a baby yet.
Oh, well, post like pregnancy announcement, I guess. Is what I should say.
It's definitely kicking off her next era, her next campaign.
Exactly, and again, Ty Dolla $ign can do no wrong in my eyes. Yes. Musically, hopefully he can beat those charges.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so that is my song. That is my offering for Run That Back. It's a good track. It's produced well. And it's nice to have some Kehlani back. So yeah.
I will say that it wasn't my favorite upon the initial listen.
Yeah. Just
because even though I'm not a huge Kehlani follower, there are songs of hers that I've enjoyed, and she tends to be an artist that I usually like when she collaborates with people.
Yeah.
So I had, and especially because I love Ty Dolla $ign, so I had high expectations.
Okay.
And I think when I first listened to it, I was just kind of like, oh, okay, not really what I was thinking, but okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
Fits the theme. So for my Run That Back, I am choosing a song that is just very, very, you talk about beautifully written, and this is someone that I think also is going to help with ushering, or has been helping with ushering that R&B sound and pure R&B music wave back, and that is Xavier Omar. Mm-hmm. He has a track called If This Is Love on his project The Everlasting Wave. Is it?
I think so.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
And that was the first song I heard on that project, and really is just, that song strikes an emotion up in me. Like, like, you need to speak to me better.
Yeah.
You need to talk to me like I'm worth a damn.
Yeah.
Like, what? Yeah. So, that's definitely a song that, you know, for all my people out there that, nursing their wounds in love, put that on.
Right. Yeah.
Get yourself some feel good. So, I mean, this has been a great part 2 to episode 2.
Yeah, to season 2.
Boom.
Yeah.
So, of course, follow us on all of our outlets. You can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, our YouTube channel, and also, our social media. On Facebook, you can find us at OTN Podcast, and then on Instagram, you can find us at OTN_podcast.
Yeah.
So, you have plenty of ways to connect with us. And also don't forget, write us a note at gmail.com.
Yeah.
And then you can also use the same email buttons to make it easy.
Right.
Anything else for the good of the order?
Yeah, no. All of that. feel really great about this particular episode. It was fun talking about something that I could enjoy talking about. So I'm good to keep that going.
Listen, we gonna keep that going.
But yeah, we will see you all next time.
Peace.
See ya.